Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Heat Wave. 32 teams in 32 days. We are breaking down every single fantasy relevant player for the upcoming season. Today, I will be focusing, and we will be focusing on the Atlanta Falcons. I am your host, speaking of the fantasy plug himself, Tim Petropoulos, editor-in-chief of BrotoFantasy.com, and of course, the Fantasy Football by Broto app. And I am running the two-man weave again with the Dynasty Don. It is our last this is our last give and go. We'll call it the give and go episodes. Michael back in the mix soon. Cass back in the mix soon. So enjoy the last pick and roll from the dynamic duo, Mr. Matt Ward himself, at Psych Ward, of course, on Twitter, if you didn't know. Speaking of the app, download the Fantasy Football by Broto app for free today and get every single tool you need to become an expert and dominate in fantasy football. Every stat you hear us use for this team that's probably not going to get a lot of stats is on this app. Fantasy player cards, fantasy player grades, usage charts, start sit tools, who to draft tools, player comps, consistency charts, podcasts, coaching tendencies, articles, podcasts, rankings, waivers. Now we got even video, as you can see, youtube.com/BrotoFantasy. And the main focus of the app, I didn't even say yet, advanced stats. Every single stat you need. Right there in the palm of your hand. You don't have to go to this website and then to this website and then to that website and then to this. No, it's all right there. And then you just got a little peek at my notes that I used to do this. And we have exclusive stats, of course. True throw value, true target value, true performance value, adjusted air yards, and true matchup rankings. The stuff that's made the Broto brand. These are the things that are the Broto brand. This is why we're known. So go check them out. And our patrons over at patreon.com are the reason why we can do what we do. A big thank you over to our patrons at patreon.com. For only $3 a month, you can be one of those patrons, and you can get a ton of extras, including the extra waiver wire show, access to BRoto Leagues, proven DFS cash game optimizers, private team consultations, the Unlimited League, all flex league. That is the most unique fantasy tournament or big fantasy league in the world. And of course, access to the greatest community in the world, the Broto Discord, the Broto fam. We like to call them. One time we even worked out nicknames for them in the Discord. And Broto fam, I feel like the one has had the most juice. Broto's not an easy one to make. Like, can't be. It's not as easy to make a nickname, I feel like. But I think fam, because it's bro fam, be part of the fam. You know what I'm saying, fam? Today we're going to get into the Atlanta Falcons. Second year for Arthur Smith and offensive coordinator Dave Ragone. I mean, this is a rebuilding process at its finest. Last year, 26 in points per game. They passed 59.3% of the time, which was top 10 in the NFL. This year, they come into the year with an O-line ranked 28th, according to PFF. Some additions: quarterback Marcus Mariota, of course, wide receiver Damiere Byrd, and wide receiver Auden Tate. Some rookies that they drafted, of course, wide receiver Drake London, we're going to talk about him. Quarterback Desmond Ridder, we'll be talking about him. And running back Tyler Algier. You know what? I kept saying Aguilar, and I knew it wasn't that. And I know that Matt is one of those guys who knows all the pronunciations. So I'm not. If you're a Broto fan, you already know that. And Matt is. So, this is why we do the pick and roll, the give and go. Hey. There are losses, of course. Matt Ryan, Tajay Sharp, Hayden Hurst, Russell Gage, Mike Davis. Big losses. New team. Completely new team. I don't have Matt Ryan to shit on when this team is on anymore. So I guess a lot of people are happy about that. Psych! I'm gonna shit on Matt Ryan real quick. Look. When all these camp reports of Matt Ryan, I just want you to know it's all code. It's code language. When they say he's a great leader. Oh, his leadership. Oh, they keep raving about his leadership. They love his leadership over there. That's code word for he's old and has a weak arm. That's what it is. The same way that it's, he's deceptively athletic is code for white guy. Like, that is code. That is code. Do not be fooled by this. Anyway, let's get to this quarterback, because I feel like this is going to be the first quarterback competition that we're talking about. And I think it's going to be a good competition. At the time that we're recording this, There's not been a preseason game played yet, although it's on the horizon. I think the first preseason game is tomorrow night. So a little peek behind the curtain. We don't know. I don't think you're gonna know who has the edge for the season. I think Mariota has the edge for starting the season, but I don't know if he has the edge for continuing. Right now in my rankings, for what I'm feeling, I have Desmond Ridder ranked just above Mariota, but neither one should be rostered, in my opinion, unless you're in a super flex. Matt, how are you feeling about these quarterbacks?
Kind of same. And man, I've been on record saying it, and I'm going to stick by it. And I think my prediction's looking closer and closer to the truth with Kenny Pickett struggling the way that he is in training camp. Desmond Ridder is going to be the first rookie quarterback to start this season. Like that, that's always been my stance. So I stand by that. That being said, look at all of the rookie quarterbacks last season and understand that they went in the first round and you didn't want to own them at all. So Ridder, I think Ridder and Mariota are essentially the same player and have essentially the same ceiling. They're both athletic. They both are going to get their fantasy points by rushing because their passing efficiency won't be good enough, and the turnovers will cause issues that, the 2 touchdowns and 240 yards are not much when you're playing 4-point passing touchdowns. So I think they have similar upside. They can both hit QB1 like weeks. Every once, but any rushing quarterback can.
Right.
Like 100 yards, or let's even go less. Like 80 yards and a rushing touchdown for a quarterback is like you're sniffing QB1 already. So it's possible. They're not rosterable.
No, if you're sniffing something else, if you're rostering any of these guys to
start
your quarter as your quarterback.
And I only say that like upside because people are going to look at them as streamers, and they very much are great streaming options. I think they're going to present, but that upside is going to be unpredictable, and it's going to have to be a perfect matchup. So
yeah,
if you're going in there, or if you're going into your drafts or even your waivers in week 1 with the idea of drafting or picking up, however it may be, Ridder or Mariota, you're going to need to know your matchups in the week that you need to replace them, or what quarterback needs to be, you know what I mean? Needs to be replaced there, because otherwise, like, they're just meaningless assets.
Yeah, Matt is, this is how you know Matt is thorough, because he has this much to say about Marcus Mariota and Desmond Ridder. Let's get to the guys that he's going to be supporting, because I think that's where the money is to be made on this fantasy thing, because we've never done this before in this year's, but this is a different team, and sometimes let's start with the tight ends. What?
All right.
Well, what? Because that's the guy everyone wants to talk about. Kyle Pitts right now is going at tight end 3. That is a very expensive tight end. Now we know that Kyle Pitts is not actually really a tight end. I'm sure Matt has some things to back that up because he just wrote about it, in fact. So I don't know if I could pull the trigger on Kyle Pitts where he's going. The reason is because when you are relying on a guy like that in an offense like this, I just don't know if it's going to be prolific enough to take the chance. I don't know if it's going to give me that positional advantage to the point of a Mark Andrews, to a Travis Kelce. I think there's no doubt he finishes as a top 3 tight end. So if you're taking him at tight end 3, that sounds like a good deal. But really what you're doing is you're taking him very early on, and you're banking on him to be one of your best 3 players. So I'm not comfortable with Kyle Pitts being one of my best 3 players to start the year. That's not to say I don't like Kyle Pitts' outlook. How are you feeling about this wide receiver tight end hybrid?
I understand where you're coming from. I mean, just because it's not just tight end 3, people have to understand that that's like 28th overall.
Right.
Because Kelce and Andrews exist, and they go in the first and second. So Pitts is immediately after on that 3rd turn. Yeah, like it's an expensive thing, but again, he's not a tight end.
Right.
He wasn't really a tight end in Florida either. Like, he's run less than 10% of his snaps from that position. He runs as a wide receiver. Like, that is his role. You could argue he's the wide receiver 1, but there might be a new guy to that throne now. I mean, man, Kyle Pitts everything you want a rookie to do. Not a rookie tight end, because I've hammered the table about rookie tight end breakouts being incredibly rare. So he broke out. He had 68 receptions for 1,026 yards and only 1 touchdown, but still finished as a top 12 tight end in points per game. 10.4 at tight end 11, but was 13th in true target value. So like performed right where he was supposed to with a declining Matt Ryan and a 28th scoring offense, right? Like there weren't any touchdowns to go around, let alone touchdowns for rookie Kyle Pitts. So he just smashed every imaginable threshold you could want for a wide receiver, let alone a tight end. It's tough at that cost. It is tough because you were just banking on that to not only repeat like the exact same reception ceiling, the exact same yard ceiling, but 10 touchdowns. So I absolutely like positive regression in the touchdown department is guaranteed. He's going to score more than 1 touchdown as a sophomore, but
100%.
asking for double digits on what is projected to be one of the lowest scoring offenses in the league, that's tough.
This is one of the teams that has a very, very good chance of being the number 1 overall pick.
100%.
And when you have a guy, and I don't mean to be too mean, but you got a rookie 3rd-round pick, and you got Marcus Mariota. And I think that one thing that Marcus Mariota has proven to us is he's not a pocket passer. Like he is not. And that's fine. Yeah, and that's fine. You know, there's nothing wrong with that. But that's not fine when you have a team who has possibly the worst defense in the NFL. So it's going to be constant comeback mode for these guys. They're not going to be able to use their legs. And you're going to put them in a situation where they don't excel. And I think that what you want to see is hyper targeting of Pitts, hyper targeting of Drake London, who we're going to talk about in a second. But I think what you're going to see is turnovers, and what you're going to see is inaccuracies. And unless Desmond Ridder blows everyone out of the water, and I know
and has a Russell Wilson,
right, you know, and that could happen. I'm not. There's no guarantee that doesn't happen. That could happen, but I'm not banking on it that early. A guy that you can get a little later. Let's get to these wide receivers. Drake London. He's the number 1 pick. I don't think me and Matt were talking about this earlier about it's just like Drake London and blah.
Yeah.
I think right now Auden Tate is slotted to be the guy opposite. I mean, Auden Tate is
Brian
pretty,
Edwards
he's
actually
okay.
leads the depth chart, but like this is what we're talking about is like that's not good things. When your depth chart is like Olamide Zacchaeus, Brian Edwards, Geronimo Allison, and Auden Tate, like that's, and man, that goes back to Pitt. He was like, there's gonna be a lot of targets funneled into 2 dudes.
Yeah, and so it's the quality of the targets that you got to worry about. But how are you feeling about Drake London and his price, and would you be a guy that's taking a shot on this rookie?
You're like psychic with the segues because the quality of targets is what you have to worry about. And look at how like high paced that offense was last year with Matt Ryan, who is traditionally a phenomenally accurate passer and obviously had a major decline last season. But had that decline amidst just ridiculous volume because it was necessary because of the defense. I don't think Mariota is going to perform much better, or Ridder in a rookie season, much better than Matt Ryan did orchestrating that offense with 17 years of experience. So you feel okay about London at cost. Here's the reason why. Drake right now is going off the board as the 95th overall player, wide receiver 38. Here's every top 10 pick that has been over 6 foot and 220 pounds wide receiver that is 3 years of college or less. So like an early declare, top 10 early declare alpha size, essentially. Julio Jones, Calvin Johnson, AJ Green, Mike Evans, Sammy Watkins, Jamar Chase, Amari Cooper, and Michael Crabtree. Those are all players that performed in their rookie season. And they all like something that I preached a lot in rookie evaluations too, is like people really got to get used to the fact that like good players go to good rookies go to bad offenses. How do you think they got the pick in the first place? Like that's what happens. So, you know, Julio went to a terrible offense and was Julio Jones. DeAndre Hopkins went to a terrible offense and was DeAndre Hopkins, right? Like Drake London can very much perform above wide receiver 39.
Yeah, I mean he's why did you for 39? Why not? He's one of those guys where it's like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna take him? You're gonna take
it's 100 targets.
Right.
Like either way, however you want to break it down, efficiency not, rookie season, rookie outliers, it's 100 targets.
I'm
You're
sorry.
guaranteeing 100 targets, and you just can't guarantee things like that late in your draft sometimes.
I'm sorry for putting you on the spot, but do you have the ADP in front of you right now?
Yeah.
Who's going around him in ADP?
I'll scroll real quick. So
This
you're getting
brought to you by the BRoto.
It's like not great, man. Brandon Ayuk, Melvin Gordon, Ken Walker, Robert Woods, Christian Kirk, James Robinson, Michael Carter, and just above him, Zach Ertz.
I'm taking him over maybe 90% of those guys.
Yeah, I'm taking him over James Robinson, Michael Carter. You could argue Rashad Bateman too. You're looking at a very, you're looking at a very slim range of outcomes. Like the opportunity is guaranteed with Drake London. It's how he performs in that position. And based on his profile and what we know about draft capital, historically, players have performed in that position.
Let's go over to the running backs, because this is one of the weirdest running back rooms I've ever seen. Because usually when there's a running back competition in fantasy football, goes absolutely apeshit. Someone picks their guy. Is it Tyler Algier? Is it Damien Williams? Is it Cortland? I keep calling him Cortland. Cordarrelle Patterson. Who's it gonna be? Who's gonna come up and be the guy in it? No one gives a shit. Cordarrelle Patterson is the one that's going the highest, and he's going at running back 38, you said, before the show?
34. Like 34, 32, yeah.
34. He's going, like, if you're playing in a 12-man league, he's going 2 picks. He only has 2 picks to be a running back 4. Like, I'm sorry, 3. Yeah. It's just like, what the hell is like?
Right, like he's 2 picks into RB4 territory. Yeah,
right.
There
you go. So I'm not good at the quick maths, but and you could tell, like, if you could see me on the screen. By the way, again, I'm a nomad, so I honestly apologize for what you see behind me. This is not the best background. But with that being said, youtube.com/BRoto Fantasy. Where was I? What was I saying? Where was I even? This backfield. Is it even worth, like, all right, let's say Tyler Algier wins the backfield. He's kind of a bruising kind of dude, and they're probably going to be they're kind of going to be comeback mode. Damien Williams, is he going to do it? Yeah, but Damien Williams has never really been efficient, in his life, and I don't know if I want Damien Williams on my team. Cordarrelle Patterson, is he going to repeat that again? This is a guy who was in the league for 10 years before he became good. He had injuries and slowed down tremendously at the end of last year. And I think that's why nobody wants these guys, because honestly, whoever wins out is going to be on a low volume offense who's going to pass the ball a lot from behind. But with that being said, how are you feeling? I obviously am not high on this room.
It's it, and it's already reflected in ADP. They're going to have to pass a lot. They're not going to be able to run the ball the way that they want to. That's Cordarrelle Patterson. He catches. He's a wide receiver hybrid. He's the consolation prize for Deebo Samuel, so to speak. Like, and at that cost, why not? I'm not mad at and it is a faded, like, obviously. I was big on Cordarrelle Patterson before last year, and you're talking about like running back battles. People were like excited about Mike Davis. He was a 5th round pick, and I was like, yeah, but like, Cordarrelle is the only other person on the depth chart and will catch passes. So, I mean, that small gamble paid off for me really, really well. He had 52 receptions for 548 yards, 153 rushing attempts, which was right in line with Mike Davis's rushing attempts as well for 618 yards. But the thing is, man, on the 28 scoring offense, he had 11 touchdowns. Like, that's not going to repeat. Not if we expect, and especially going back a little bit, if we expect, and ADP is a good indicator of projections, obviously, because this is what people are projecting players to do. So if we project Drake London to outscore Cordarrelle Patterson and Kyle Pitts to outscore Cordarrelle Patterson, you would assume that they would probably have more touchdowns than him, right?
Yeah.
So Cordarrelle can't hit an 11 touchdown ceiling again.
No.
And
not with Pitts there. Not with Pitts, like, making
not with Pitts and London, and it's just
and London.
It's just the way that otherwise those 2 picks were terrible for everybody. You know what I mean? So, that's the one that you could be most excited about. Like, man, Tyler, like, this is going to be his first full year ever playing running back in an entire season. He was a running back and then a linebacker, and then a running back and then a linebacker and then a running back at BYU. But in his last full season at BYU, he had 1,600 yards and 23 touchdowns, which was over 75% of the team's total scoring. So like, yeah, that can be a goal line like vulture, but goal line vultures aren't good for your fantasy team. They're bad for the players that you roster already.
Yeah. Just to mention, like, I think a lot of the sourness of Cordell Patterson comes because he absolutely fell off a cliff at the end of the year last year. Someone tweeted me that I should put that on a shirt. I do say that a lot now that he's pointed it out. Like every time I say it, I notice it, and I realize how much I've been saying it. But yeah, so he legitimately, like, from week 2 to week 13, he finished as a wide receiver 1 4 separate times, and only finished outside wide receiver 3 1 time. From week 14 on, he finished as a wide receiver 2 only 1 time. He was RB17. He followed that up with RB57, RB33, and RB37 to end the season. And completely, like, he was consistent. He was good, and then he completely fell off a cliff.
Completely. That's funny that you have the exact same like game threshold. And I wanted to bring up too that last good performance he had was against Carolina when they were struggling so hard to close out the season, and he had 13.9 points per game. After that, 4.3, 8.3, 7.2, 2.2. Like, not good, man. He just disappeared. He just completely disappeared off your lineup when you needed him the most. And I mean, we talked, like, it is his 9th year in the league, and he is 31, and it is a terrible offense. Like, I like Cordell, and I think that there's probably better players in that range that you can attack as your RB3 or your flex upside wide receiver. It's not as good of a price as we had last year when he was ranked 274th.
All right, bold prediction time, Mr. Ward. What you got?
Desmond Ridder starts by week 4.
Oh, okay, we're both on the same page. I'm gonna up you though, because this is the competitive guy I am. I'm gonna say week 3, baby. That tends to be the I don't know why I went Macho Man Randy Savage on everyone right there, but that seems to be, dude. That just seems to be that. It's just look at the. Why don't I use these tickers more? Like, when it's just a 2-man weave and we got to be like doing all this, I don't have time for, like, look at all these great things. Bars, come on, son. This man's spitting. Man, I gotta use these. YouTube.com/BRoto Fantasy. Matt, where could they find you?
At PsychWardFF everywhere. Just go on social media and type it in.
At BrotoFF Tim, at BrotoFF at BrotoFF Jason, FBrotoFF Casanova, at BrotoFF Jason, at BrotoFF Michael. I mean, at BrotoFF Mike. At Broto Fantasy, at FF by Broto, BrotoFantasy.com.
Just an army of good content and good people, folks. Come check us out.
An army. This was a short episode. This was a predictably short episode. I feel bad for Falcons fans this year. It's going to be a long year. And
hey, man, Bryce Young's coming, so keep your head high.
That's true. And also, Matt Ryan won 0 Super Bowls. Just putting that out there, 0, and then he blew one when he was up 28-3. And that one was crazy, because I put money on the fact that he would, and I won a bunch of money that day. It was amazing. It was great.
Oh, what a bet that would have been at halftime. Yeah.
I actually didn't. I put it up when it was 20. When the Patriots scored a touchdown, I was like, okay. They were like plus like 900 or something. I'm like, I'm just gonna put $100 on this. See what happens. And I bought a laptop. That's what happens. All right. Later.